The moon looked empty from space, a gray desert with deep shadows and sharp light. A lone ship broke the silence of the void as it came down slowly on the dead surface. Its engines hummed for the last time before falling silent. A man stepped out, his boots pressing into the dust where no footprints had been for many years. His name was Daniel, and he was alone. He stood still for a moment, breathing heavily inside his suit. His eyes moved to the horizon where an old moon colony lay. From a distance, it looked like broken domes and long tunnels half buried in dust. It was once a home for hundreds of people. Now it looked like a grave. Daniel walked forward, every step echoing in his ears through the inside of his helmet. He felt the weight of the silence pressing down on him. There was no sound except his own breath and the soft crunch of his boots. The colony gates were tall and heavy, their paint faded away. A huge crack ran across the metal. Time and vacuum had eaten it alive. He touched the control panel next to the airlock. The screen was dark, covered in a layer of dust. His gloved hand wiped it clean. For a second, nothing happened. Then the screen flickered with faint blue light. A line of text appeared. Colony Omega, system error. Last entry, 62 years ago. Daniel felt his heartbeat rise. 62 years. That was longer than his own life. Why had nobody returned? Why had this place been left to die? The airlock opened with a painful groan. He stepped inside. His helmet lights cut through the darkness. The corridor beyond was long, with walls scratched and broken. Old posters still clung to the metal, showing smiling families, promises of a new home beyond Earth. The faces on the posters looked alive under his light, as if staring at him with empty eyes. He moved deeper. The smell of dust and rust filled his nose as he removed his helmet once the sensors told him oxygen was still here. Thin, but breathable. He took a deep breath and it felt like breathing the ghost of the past. Everywhere he looked, there were signs of sudden departure. A chair turned over, a broken cup on the ground, a child's toy resting against the wall. It was as if people had left in a hurry, leaving behind pieces of their lives. Daniel's steps echoed too loud in the empty halls. His shadow stretched far ahead. He reached the main control room. Rows of broken screens lined the walls. Most were dead, but one still blinked weakly with red light. He pressed a button, and the old system came alive for a moment. A voice recording played, broken and filled with static. "They are here. We must leave. No time. Lock the hangar. Ship must not." Then silence again. Daniel froze. His hands trembled. Who were they? What ship were they talking about? He turned around sharply. For a second, he thought he heard something behind him. A metallic clang, like footsteps on steel. He shone his light. Nothing. Just long corridors. Stretching into darkness, he whispered to himself, "You are alone. It is just the sound of the metal cooling." But deep down he felt eyes watching him. He walked further, turning corners, entering what was once the living quarters. Empty bunks lined the walls, beds still made, lockers still closed. On one bed he found a diary. Its pages were yellow, but the words were still clear. He opened it and read, "Day 142. People are afraid. The hangar is sealed now. We hear strange hums in the night. Some say it is the machine. Others say it is alive. I do not know what to believe, but I know this. Colony is no longer safe." The last page ended there. Daniel's throat went dry. He put the diary back slowly. His light caught something else, scratches on the wall, words carved into metal with shaking hands. "Do not open the ship." He stepped back, heart pounding. So there was a ship here. A ship that scared the whole colony. But why? Suddenly, the lights in the corridor flickered. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through the walls. Daniel froze in place, holding his breath. It lasted only 3 seconds. Then silence returned. He whispered again, "You are alone." But this time, he did not believe it. He made his way to the central dome of the colony. From here, he could see broken glass above, stars shining cold and far away. He stood in the middle, his body small in the vast empty hall. For a moment he imagined hundreds of people here, laughing, working, living. Now it was only him. As he walked, his foot kicked something small. It rolled with a hollow sound. He bent down and picked it up. A metal badge. The words were clear. Chief Engineer, Colony Omega. He closed his eyes for a second, imagining the engineer dropping it while running. Running from what? He decided to push forward. His maps showed a sealed section deeper below the colony. The hangar. The place mentioned in the diary. The place where the ship was hidden. The path down was narrow and steep. Broken lights hung from the ceiling. Dust fell when he touched the rails. As he descended, the air grew colder. His breath fogged. The silence became heavier, like a weight pressing on his chest. At last he reached a massive door. It was covered in dust and deep scratches. Warning signs covered its surface. Authorized personnel only. Some words were crossed out with paint. Across the door, someone had written in big red letters, "Do not enter." Daniel stood there staring. His hands shook. He knew this was the heart of the mystery. Whatever was inside, the whole colony had feared it. Maybe it was the reason they left. He raised his hand and touched the door. Cold metal met his skin. For a second, nothing happened. Then, faintly, deep inside the walls, he felt a vibration, as if something on the other side had just woken up. The colony was not as dead as it seemed, and Daniel was not as alone as he believed. Daniel stood before the sealed hangar door. The warnings scratched into its metal skin echoed in his mind. Do not enter. The vibration he had felt earlier was gone now, replaced again by heavy silence. But the silence no longer felt empty, it felt alive. He stepped back, his flashlight beam sliding across the door's surface, then up to the pipes and broken wires above. Something had moved here once. Something powerful. He told himself he would not open it yet. He needed to know more. He needed to understand what had happened in this colony before he touched what they had hidden away. Daniel retraced his steps through the narrow passage. The air was colder now, sharper in his lungs. Every corridor seemed longer than before. Every shadow stretched unnaturally against the flickering light. He felt like the colony itself was pulling him deeper into its memory, forcing him to witness what had been left behind. He entered what looked like a cafeteria. Rows of metal tables stood in silence. Dust covered everything like a gray blanket. But the strangest thing was that trays of food still sat on some tables. Rotten, dried, turned to black lumps over decades, but still there. As if people had left mid-meal without finishing their last bite. On one table lay a mug, cracked down the middle. Daniel reached for it and froze. The mug was warm. He jerked his hand back and shone his light all around. Nothing. The shadows were empty. Yet the mug's warmth clung to his glove. Impossible, he muttered. The colony was supposed to be dead. No power, no people, no life. But the walls whispered otherwise. He moved to another section, this time the medical bay. Beds with torn sheets lay in neat rows. Medical monitors stood silent, their glass screens cracked. In one corner, a body lay under a faded white sheet. Daniel hesitated, then pulled the cloth back. It was not a human. At least, not anymore. The body had dried into a husk, bones sharp against pale skin. The skull's mouth was open in a silent scream. His chest tightened. He covered it again quickly, whispering a short prayer under his breath. But his eyes caught something written on the wall behind the bed, carved with desperate hands. "The machine listens." Daniel stepped back. His heartbeat thudded in his ears. He remembered the hum in the corridor earlier. Could it have been the machine? Was the ship inside the hangar not just a vessel but something alive, something aware? He forced himself to keep moving. Fear pressed on his back like cold hands, but curiosity pulled him forward. He entered the library section of the colony. The shelves were half empty, but digital readers still blinked with dying light. He picked one up, its battery nearly gone, but it showed fragments of text. Reports. One line made him sit down on the dusty floor. Day 198. The Colony Council has ordered evacuation. Half the people already gone. The hangar remains sealed, but some of us hear it calling. It hums through the metal at night like a song. We do not know if it is a weapon or a gift. We only know it is waiting. Daniel's throat went dry. He put the reader down slowly. A sound behind him made him freeze. Not a hum this time. Not a vibration. Footsteps. Light, quick, like someone walking barefoot on the metal floor. He turned his flashlight sharply. The beam swept across the library. Shelves. Nothing. Who's there? His voice echoed. No reply. But when he turned back, the reader he had placed on the floor was gone. His hands shook as he pulled his small pistol from his side holster. He had not planned to use it. Who would need a weapon in an abandoned colony? But now the weight of it gave him a small sense of control. He walked faster now, searching for answers, trying to keep the fear from swallowing him. His path led to the communication tower of the colony, a tall chamber with broken antennas and shattered glass panels. He climbed the narrow stairs, each creak echoing through the empty space. At the top he found the control deck. Screens were dead, but one small light blinked faintly. He pressed the switch and static filled the air. A voice cut through, broken, distant, like an echo across time. To any survivor, do not trust the ship. It is not ours. It waits for the one who will wake it. The recording ended. Daniel's heart pounded so hard he could barely breathe. It waits for the one who will wake it. Were they talking about him? Was that why the door had trembled when he touched it? He looked through the broken glass at the moon's endless surface. The earth hung above, blue and silent. He felt smaller than ever, a lone man surrounded by the weight of forgotten history. But deep inside, something stronger than fear began to rise. Curiosity, determination. He climbed back down, his footsteps echoing through the hollow tower. He knew now that the colony's story was not just abandonment. It was a warning. A warning about the ship. But warnings were not enough. He needed the truth. As he walked toward the hangar again, he passed through another corridor he had not noticed before. On the walls, old family photos were pinned, edges curled with time. Smiling, faces of people who once lived here, children holding hands, parents standing proudly in front of their new home. Daniel stopped in front of one picture. A little girl holding a toy spaceship, almost the same shape as the one hidden in the hangar. His hands trembled. Had they known about it from the beginning? The corridor ended at a locked door. He forced it open with effort, and what he found made him stop cold. It was a council chamber. A round table, chairs around it, dust covering everything. On the table lay a single object untouched by time, a small black cube. He picked it up and the cube lit with soft blue glow. A voice spoke, calm and cold. Authorization recognized, access to ship unlocked. Daniel's blood ran cold. He had not said anything. He had not entered a code. Yet the cube recognized him. Far below, the ground rumbled. The hangar door, sealed for decades, had begun to open. The echoes of the past were no longer whispers. They were alive. The sound of grinding metal shook through the empty colony. Dust fell from the ceiling, and old pipes rattled as if the building itself was waking from a long sleep. Daniel stood frozen in the council chamber, the glowing black cube still warm in his hand. The voice from the cube echoed in his head. Authorization recognized. Access to ship unlocked. His pulse quickened. He had not spoken a word. He had not entered any code. Yet the system knew him, knew he was here. The ground trembled again. Far below, heavy doors shifted after 60 years of silence. The sealed hangar was opening. Daniel pushed the cube into his pocket and ran back through the dusty corridors. His boots struck the floor hard, each sound bouncing off the walls like gunshots. The flickering lights above swayed with the vibration. The deeper he went, the colder the air became. It felt like descending into the lungs of some ancient giant. At last, he reached the bottom. The hangar door loomed before him, no longer still. Its two massive slabs of steel were pulling apart slowly, releasing a hiss of trapped air. The words scratched into the door, "Do not enter," now looked more like a plea than a warning. Daniel stepped forward cautiously, gun in one hand, flashlight in the other. The gap widened, and darkness poured out like a living shadow. He aimed, his light inside. The beam stretched across a vast space, too large to see in one glance. And then he saw it. A ship. It stood in the center of the hangar, silent, immense, covered in thick layers of dust and cobweb-like cables. Its hull was not smooth like normal spacecraft. Instead, it was carved with patterns that shimmered faintly under his light, like veins of glowing silver running across dark skin. The curves of the ship did not look like human design. It looked organic, almost alive, as if grown instead of built. Daniel's mouth went dry. The forgotten ship was larger than any vessel he had ever seen. Its wings stretched wide, almost touching the walls. Its nose was sharp, its body wide and powerful. Even under the weight of dust, it radiated a strange beauty, something both terrifying and magnificent. He walked closer, his footsteps echoing, in the endless space. The air inside the hangar was heavier, filled with a faint hum that vibrated through his chest. It was not the sound of machines. It was more like breathing. As he circled the ship, he noticed symbols carved into the hull. Some looked like human letters, others like alien runes. They pulsed faintly, glowing brighter when his light touched them. He reached out with his gloved hand, trembling, and brushed the surface. The hum deepened instantly. Lights rippled across, the ship's body like waves of liquid fire. Dust blew away in sudden gusts. The floor shook as ancient engines stirred. Daniel staggered back, heart pounding. "What? What are you?" he whispered. The ship answered with silence, but the glow continued, spreading across its length. It was awake now. At the base of the vessel, a ramp slowly lowered with a deep metallic groan. The sound echoed through the hangar like a beast stretching after a long sleep. A cold mist drifted out from inside, curling around Daniel's boots. His fear told him to run. Every warning carved into the walls, every diary entry, every desperate message had told him to stay away, but something stronger than fear pulled him forward. Curiosity, the human hunger for truth. Step by step, he climbed the ramp. His flashlight beam cut through the mist, revealing the ship's interior. It was nothing like human spacecraft. The walls were smooth and curved, glowing faintly with the same silver veins. There were no bolts, no wires, no signs of construction. It felt like stepping inside a living organism. As he walked further, the lights brightened, guiding his path. The floor pulsed softly under his feet, like a heartbeat. He reached what looked like the control chamber, a wide circular room with a single chair in the center. The chair faced a giant window that showed the stars beyond. The seat looked as if it had grown out of the floor itself, shaped perfectly for a human body. Daniel hesitated, then slowly lowered himself into it. The moment his body touched the chair, the ship responded. The walls flared with light. Screens of pure energy unfolded in the air, displaying maps of stars, lines of data, strange languages twisting into English before his eyes. His heart raced as the ship's systems came alive, responding to his presence. Then a voice filled the room. Calm, smooth, neither male nor female. Pilot recognized. Human genetic code verified. Welcome back. Daniel's hands shook on the armrests. Back? I've never been here before. But the ship ignored his protest. Images appeared on the screens. Memories. Fragments of history. He saw men and women building the colony. He saw them discovering the ship, their fear and awe as they argued about its purpose. Some wanted to study it, some wanted to destroy it. The council had sealed, it away, hoping no one would ever wake it. And then Daniel saw something else. War. Images of Earth under attack by unknown ships, cities burning, fleets falling from the sky. And then, this ship, fighting, destroying enemies with blinding power. His chest tightened. This was not just a ship. It was a weapon, a guardian, a piece of forgotten history built to defend humanity. But why him? Why now? The chair tightened gently around his arms as if holding him. The voice spoke again. Protocol 1. Humanity must survive. You are chosen to command. Daniel's eyes widened. Chosen? By who? The screens shifted, showing a single line of text. By those who came before you. The hangar shook again as the ship's engines rumbled, dust falling like rain from the ceiling. The power was enough to bring life back to the colony. Lights across the abandoned halls flickered on for the first time in decades. Daniel's mind swirled with questions, but one truth was clear. He was no longer just a visitor in an abandoned colony. He was the captain of humanity's forgotten weapon, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The ship vibrated gently under Daniel's body, as if it were breathing with him. The lights across the chamber pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. His palms pressed against the smooth armrests of the chair, and he could feel warmth spreading through them, almost alive. Protocol 1. Humanity must survive, the voice repeated. Daniel's throat was dry. What do you mean? Who are you? The air shimmered in front of him. A figure formed made of pure light. Not a man, not a woman, but something between. Its outline shifted like water, its face clear one second and blurred the next. I am the memory of those who built this ship, the figure said. I am the voice of the architects. Daniel leaned forward. Architects? You mean humans? The figure flickered. Humans, and more. Your kind built this ship with help from what you once called friends, before they became your enemies. It was hidden here, locked away, because humanity was not ready. But time has passed. The danger rises again. Now you are chosen. Daniel shook his head slowly. I didn't choose this. I just came here by accident. The voice was calm, almost cold. There are no accidents. Your blood carries the code. You were always meant to come. Daniel felt his body tighten with fear, yet also with strange excitement. He looked at the screens floating around him. One showed the Earth, blue and fragile, hanging in the darkness. Another showed red dots spreading across star maps, fleets of unknown ships advancing like a slow tide. His voice trembled. What are those? Invaders, the ship answered. The same enemy who broke your skies long ago, they return. And only this vessel can face them. Daniel's hands curled into fists. He remembered the warnings carved into the colony walls. Do not open the ship. The machine listens. Now he understood why they had been afraid. This was no simple machine. It was a war engine, powerful enough to save or destroy entire worlds. He whispered, That's why they left. They were afraid of you. The glowing figure nodded. Fear is natural, but humanity must learn. Power cannot stay buried forever. Suddenly, the walls around him shifted. The chair sank slightly and the screens expanded. He was no longer just in a chamber, he was inside the mind of the ship. The hangar walls faded away, replaced with a full view of the moon's surface and the stars beyond. He gasped. It felt like flying, the voice said. Integration complete. You are linked. Daniel's heart pounded as he lifted one hand. The ship responded instantly, tilting its perspective with his movement. His other hand tightened and holographic controls shaped themselves beneath his fingers, glowing like fire. It was as if the vessel itself were alive, and his body was now part of it. Test systems, the voice commanded. Panels lit up around him. Weapon systems, energy cores, shield structures. Each one powered up with a low rumble. Outside, the hangar shook as engines flared. Alarms rang across the old colony, long dead sirens howling back to life. Dust rained from the ceiling. Lights flickered violently. The forgotten base was alive again, powered by the return of the ship. Daniel gritted his teeth. "Shut them down, you'll bring attention." The voice interrupted. "Attention has already been drawn, they know you are here." Cold fear pierced him. "Who knows?" The screens answered for him. A red symbol appeared, moving closer across the star map. Not one, but several. Ships, alien signatures, approaching fast. Daniel felt his body stiffen. His mind screamed to run, to leave this cursed colony behind. But the ship's presence pressed against him, calm and commanding. "Pilot," it said, "do not fear. This vessel was built for this moment. Humanity's survival rests on you." Daniel took a long, shaky breath. His eyes narrowed on the red dots. For the first time, he felt something stronger than fear, a sense of purpose. "Show me what you can do," he whispered. The ship's core roared to life. The floor shook as engines ignited fully. The colony around the hangar trembled as if it might collapse under the pressure. The great doors, sealed for decades, now groaned wider, releasing streams of dust into the vacuum outside. Daniel's chair tightened around him, holding him steady as the ship lifted from the ground. Slowly, at first, then with sudden force, it rose. Dust stormed through the hangar like a hurricane. Debris scattered, alarms wailed, and the forgotten colony watched as its secret was freed. The ship soared through the opening, into the black sky of the moon. For the first time in 60 years, it breathed open air. Stars stretched across his vision. Earth shone above, blue and bright. Daniel gasped in awe, his body trembling. "I'm flying it." The voice was calm. "No. We are flying." The stars shifted as the vessel accelerated. In seconds, the colony was a speck behind them. Daniel gripped the glowing controls tighter, his fear and wonder blending into something new. Power. But then the red symbols on the map flared brighter. The approaching ships were close now. Daniel's stomach twisted. "They're already here." The ship's voice grew colder, sharper. "Then we fight." Panels unfolded outside the vessel, wings reshaping into sharp blades of light. Cannons rose from the hull, glowing with energy older than Daniel's entire world. The hum became a roar, and, as the enemy signatures drew closer, Daniel understood the truth. This ship was not just a relic. It was a sleeping giant, and he had awakened it. The moon's silent horizon stretched behind him as the ship cut through the black sky like a blade. Daniel sat locked into the glowing chair, his heart pounding against his ribs. The screens around him pulsed with warnings. 3 enemy ships inbound, fast. Their red markers grew larger with every second. The ship's voice remained calm. "Engagement protocol active. Weapons ready." Daniel swallowed hard. He had never piloted anything more than a small transport craft, but this was alive. He could feel its energy pulsing through his body, as if the vessel had stitched itself into his nerves. When he clenched his fists, the cannons outside hummed. When he exhaled, the engines roared. He was no longer just Daniel. He was something more. "Show me," he whispered. The first enemy ship appeared ahead, a long, needle-shaped craft glowing with cold blue lights. It released a beam of energy that cut across the stars. Daniel flinched, but the forgotten ship reacted before he could move. Its shields blossomed like a silver wave, absorbing the blast without a scratch. Daniel gasped. "It's protecting me. Protecting humanity," the voice corrected. Instinct pulled his hand upward. Energy burst from the cannons, slicing through the void. The blast struck the alien ship dead center. In an instant, the vessel tore apart into glowing fragments, spinning into the darkness. Daniel's eyes widened. He had not aimed. He had not even thought. The ship had read his intent, his heartbeat, his very fear, and turned it into precision. But the battle was not over. 2 more enemy ships closed in. They fired in unison, beams crisscrossing through the stars. Daniel clenched his teeth, gripping the armrests tight. The forgotten ship dove sharply, faster than he thought possible. His body pressed into the chair as they spun through the void. The second enemy vessel swung around, trying to flank. Daniel felt the ship whisper into his mind, guiding him. His hand flicked sideways, and a storm of glowing projectiles erupted from the wings. They swirled together, combining into a single massive spear of light. It shot forward, piercing the alien craft clean through. The explosion lit up the black sky like a second sun. Daniel's breath shook. He had destroyed another. Only one enemy ship remained, but this one was larger, stronger. Its hull glowed red, and strange symbols shimmered across its body, almost mocking him. It launched swarms of smaller drones, filling the space with spinning metal predators. Daniel's chest tightened. Too many. He could never fight them all. The ship's voice spoke firmly. Do not fear. This vessel carries more than weapons. It carries memory. It carries hope. The controls beneath his hands shifted. New systems unfolded. Circles of light surrounding the chair, symbols spinning faster. His skin prickled as if electricity crawled over it. What is this? He asked. The voice answered with words that made his heart pound. Human will made real. The glowing circles merged, and Daniel felt something surge through him. It was not just metal and energy. It was emotion. Memories of countless human struggles, ancestors who fought wars, explorers who crossed oceans, workers who built cities, parents who protected children. Their spirit coursed through the ship like fire. He understood now. This was the true HFY power. The forgotten ship was not alien. It was born of humanity's pain, hope, and determination. The architects had built it to embody the strongest force in the universe, human will to survive. The swarm closed in. Daniel gritted his teeth, his fear replaced with steel. He raised both hands, and the ship responded with a roar. Waves of energy burst outward, shaped not by buttons or switches but by his very resolve. The drones disintegrated instantly, shattered into ash. The larger enemy ship trembled, its shields flickering under the storm. Daniel's voice rose, strong and unshaken. This is our sky. This is our fight. The forgotten vessel unleashed its full fury. A beam brighter than a star erupted from its core, a strike forged from centuries of human struggle. It pierced the enemy ship, tearing it apart in a blaze that lit the moon's surface. The explosion echoed in silence, debris scattering like dying embers across the void, and then silence again. The red markers vanished from the map. The sky was clear. Daniel leaned back, his body trembling with exhaustion, but his eyes were sharp, filled with fire. He had done more than survive. He had awakened something greater. The ship's voice softened. You see now, humanity is not weak. It is not forgotten. You are the proof. Daniel gazed at the earth, glowing blue and fragile above the moon's horizon. For the first time, he understood the weight of what he had found. This was not just a ship, it was a promise. A second chance for his people. He whispered, I am not alone anymore. The vessel's lights pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat, in reply. Far below, the dead colony flickered with weak light, brought back by the ship's awakening. But Daniel knew it was no longer just ruins. It was a beginning, a signal, a warning to the stars. The forgotten spaceship was no longer hidden. Humanity's power had returned, and the galaxy would soon learn the truth. The age of silence was over. The age of humanity had begun again.